Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the season finale of the Mtn Dew Modified Tour presented by Tagare Property Management. We are here today at New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the final race of the season, 75 laps that we're going to be doing here today. My name is Mason Heimbaugh with Team Goon Squad, bringing you tonight's action in 1080p, 60 frames a second every single week. Folks, I hope you all are excited and ready for the final race of the season here, again with the Mtn Dew Modified Tour with the folks over at American Sim Racing Club. A big shout out to the guys there as they have put on a phenomenal season, and I look forward to the future seasons that we see here. But we are here today for the season finale, and drivers are starting their qualifying for today's race as drivers work their way out onto the track and get themselves started for they're qualifying here today, the first of which, well, the first of many, should I say. Andrew Payne in the number 93 machine going to be starting his first time lapped here today once he works his way out of turn 4. And across the checkered line, that'll be the start of his first time lapped. Here he goes across the checkered line down the front straight. Going to go into turn 1 and start his first time lapped here. Now, folks, Brett Hahn currently still holding on to the championship lead for this race here today, and the only thing that he needs to do to win the series and be crowned the champion for the 2022 Mtn Dew Modified Tour is finish the race under green flag. Now, with that in mind, this is going to be a big night for Brett Hahn, but that also means there is going to be a big night for other drivers here as well that we have not mentioned. There's going to be a lot of battles between the top 10 drivers in points. Now, I don't exactly have them up for you at this time. That is my apology. But either way, drivers have come here tonight with the best mindset possible to do the best that they possibly can and end the season on a high note. Look at this, though. Zack Kaiser in the 14. Going to go sideways out of turn 4. Excuse me, that looks like actually turn 1. As I seem to be mistaken here. But we're going to check with a few other drivers here that are currently making their way around the track. If you're looking at the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the best times that have been set by drivers thus far for their qualifying times. Andrew Payne in the 93 setting the best lap thus far with a 30.06 as his best time for this session. Now, Ron Hart going to be in second place with a 30.15. David Payton in the 38 with a 30.26, but Nick Fleury just edges his way in to that third place spot. So we've seen a lot of drivers here throughout the season that have done an incredible job with their qualifying times, but that doesn't necessarily always reflect into the actual race. Now, qualifying is one thing. That is a completely separate subject of the race in of itself. When you consider qualifying, it's mostly, well, ultimately just a way to put yourself as far up the grid as possible at the start of the race and hope that you are able to hold on to that position or work your way up the field from that position as quickly as possible. And that is not always the easiest thing to do here. John DeMeester, as we are currently looking at now in the number 2 machine, in 19th place currently on the timing tower for qualifying, currently with a 31.46. Almost 1.5 seconds slower than our leader, Andrew Payne, on qualifying here today. But, again, qualifying does not always reflect into the race. Things can always change in the blink of an eye. So you have to be paying attention to those moments. You have to be keeping an eye for what's happening on the track. And being here today at New Hampshire, we have a lot of room to play with. This is by far the largest track that we have raced at here for the Mtn Dew Modified Tour. So there will be plenty of opportunities for really side-by-side racing as well as, I would assume, passing. But given that I am, I'll admit, fairly new to this track here today, New Hampshire is not one of my strong suits, so I will mostly be playing it by ear here as drivers have completed their qualifying here for today. That is going to complete qualifying, and our starting grid is available for us here today. Andrew Payne in the 93 going to be starting out in first place, with Brett Hahn in the 71, our current championship leader, starting out in second place. Rounding out your first row, Ron Hart in the 05, 1 in third, with Nick Fleury in the 25 going to be in fourth, rounding out your second row. David Payton in the 38 going to be starting in fifth place. Steve Cigars in the 973 starting in sixth place. Zack Kaiser in the 14 going to be starting in seventh. Billy Thomas in the 9 in 8th place. Leo Lortz in the 108 going to be in 9th place. Robert Besaw Jr. in the 3 in 10th place. John Senu, he just talked to me about this and I promptly forgot it. John, we're going to have a conversation afterwards. In the 86 going to be starting in 11th. Mark Welsh in the 12th place spot for today's race, with Christopher Campbell in the 13th. John Kane in the 14th. Charles Darling in the 15th, Rex Hoyle in the 16th, Noah Boucher in the 17th, Nathan Henry in the 18th spot, Eric Hahn in the 19th spot, John DeMeester in the 20th, and Brent Seagars rounding out the field in the 22nd spot, technically 21st, as Tanner Tallarico is not technically in the race. Again, our software does not account for race control in these virtual race events, so a little bit of confusion there for the starting grid as per usual, but we work our way through it, and currently waiting for our grid to go ahead and start today's race. And I gotta say, folks, I have been quite excited for this moment. Last year, if you were not here for the Super Late Model Series, and it looks like, a little bit of a delayed start there. Not exactly sure what happened there, but you know what? These type of things happen here, folks. Anyhow, if you were not here for last year for the American Sim Racing Club Super Late Model Series, you would have saw Brett Hahn in the 71 machine also take the win for that series. And again, coming into 2022 to the Mountain Dew Modified Tour presented by Tagare Property Management, he comes to take another win here again for this series. So Brett Hahn has proven himself both in the super late models as well as the open wheel modifieds. I gotta say, Brett Hahn is quite the driver, but he is not the only driver here that we have seen do impressive things here. Andrew Payne, the driver that we are currently looking at in first place, starting out at the front of the grid here in the 93. Andrew has seen some pretty amazing moments here in the series. And personally, we have seen him progress from the super late models. Had some up and down moments there, won some races, and came here with an extremely solid mindset, and it's proven to work for that number 93 machine. Now, granted, he may not have seen himself in the top 3 as much as he would probably like to in this series. You cannot discount the effort and the work that Andrew Payne has put in to the series, and that's just one other driver that I would like to touch on and mention and shout out for this series for all the work that they put in here. As we go green flag here at New Hampshire for the series finale of the Mountain Dew Modified Tour, Andrew Payne leading out this field here going into turn 1 with Brett Hahn in second place, but look behind them, Nick Fleury, David Payton, Steve Cigars. looking like they were going to go 3 wide there for almost just a moment, but everyone here going single file here very, very quickly. You see a couple stragglers going down the backfield, going 2 wide. As we come back down the front straight, Andrew Payne starting to get himself quite the significant gap here, as we still have a battle for 4th place, and that's just one of the battles amongst the field here. Steve Segar's in the 973, finding himself in not the best spot here down on the bottom line. Everyone else seeming to want to take that. Well, kind of changes here at New Hampshire. Again, this is not my strong suit, this track, so we're kind of going off of what we're seeing here. We're kind of all learning together, if you will. But Steve Segar's in that 973, but actually it is the one machine. Again, SDK, our timing software, not always the most accurate in some scenarios, but anyhow, it is going to work in our case as we follow along with 5th place driver Steve Segar's, as he chases behind the 38, David Payton. All of our drivers going single file here, looking rather smooth, actually. Everyone going around New Hampshire extremely patiently, extremely safe is the word I would like to use here in this case. And given how much room that we have here for all of our drivers, it definitely bodes for a lot of great racing as we continue down the front straight and into turn 1. Now, the thing that I'm going to be paying attention to here, now, as we have a lot more room. Again, this is the largest track that we have seen here for the series, if I am not mistaken. And we're one of, actually, it could be the second. I believe there was one other slightly larger track that we attended earlier in the season. But anyhow, given how much space we have with this track, the flow of this race is what I'm most interested about. How these drivers are going to kind of utilize that room to ultimately move themselves up the field. As we have drivers side by side, Robert Besaw Jr., Billy Thomas, this is kind of the thing that I'm mostly talking about here. Now, it's going to be a lot of just patient, really watching. You're watching for the guy in front of you to either make a mistake or just get a little bit higher than they probably should be. Ooh, look at this down the back straight. Nathan Henry, John Senu. I think that's right. Oh, John. I'm going to have to go over that one more time with you, but Nathan Henry, Mark Welsh here going into turn 1. All 3 of these guys here very close to going 3 wide there for just a moment. And these are kind of the, again, this is the point that I was alluding to just a moment ago. With how much space there is on the track, this allows you these kind of maneuvers. You're allowed to get 3 wide. Ooh, wow. Look at that. Mark Welsh almost looked like he was going to get into the wheel of Nathan Henry there for just a moment. Able to keep it together, but all these guys have a lot more room to work with. They're going to be definitely taking advantage of all that space, trying to see what grooves are going to work, especially in this scenario where we have a lot of drivers, mostly the entire field really, going single file, really only opting to go into those 2 wide moments when they're making those overtakes. And really, this early in the race, that's ultimately what you're going to be doing. You don't want to be too aggressive too early on. So taking these moments to be patient, analyze what's going on around you, what the drivers are doing in front of you and behind you, really. You can see where drivers are making mistakes, where you might be a little bit faster. It just takes a lot of patience, a lot of timing to put it all together and make it all work here as we again ride. Look here with Steve Cigars in the one machine, currently still holding on to 5th place. Zack Kaiser in the 14 right behind him, and 6 going into turn 1 here. We're going to see here if we can get a view of one of our drivers on board. Christopher Campbell in the 51. Currently holding on to 9th place here as we roll in out of turn 4 down the front straight. And you can see how this field really is opting to handle this race and take a very patient approach to how this race is going to progress. And ultimately, again, this track is a lot bigger than what we have normally seen throughout this season. So with that in mind, and also considering that these cars are not the fastest by any means at all. Right now we're seeing top speeds of around 141 miles an hour. Most of your cars that you drive today are capable of reaching around that point, depending on what you drive. If you're driving something with 4 cylinders, maybe not quite. Again, it all depends. But we're alluding from the point here. With how big this track is, oh, we actually have a caution out on the track. Rex Hoyle involved. Oh, wow. Gonna find himself down on the front straight, spun around, looking back the wrong way. Lap 15 of 75 here. We're gonna take a look at the replay. As the 54's on the outside, they're 3 wide, and oh, wow! Wow, look at that. That was absolutely intense, and I believe that was John Senu. No, that was not. Who was that? That was also involved in that wreck. I want to take one more look at this. That was the 59 of Rex Hoyle. No, that's not Rex Hoyle. We're looking at Rex Hoyle. Nathan Henry. Nathan Henry got absolutely spun in that collision. He went to the moon after that. Wow, what a wreck. And ultimately only involving 2 cars, but still, that was rough to watch. That looked like it hurt emotionally. But that's going to bring out the first caution of the race here today at New Hampshire for the series finale of the Mtn Dew Modified Tour presented by Tagare Property Management. I hope everyone is enjoying the race thus far. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. It's great to have you all here and watching today's race and seeing how this series is going to unfold, how this is going to finish. And ultimately, Brett Hahn is going to take home the win for the series. He's going to be crowned the champion for the 2022 Mtn Dew Modified Tour. And I got to say, for Brett Hahn, that was well earned, to say the least. Brett Hahn did an incredible amount of work throughout this series in multiple races, whether it was coming from winning a race, starting at the tail end of the pack and working his way through the grid, ultimately finding himself fighting for the lead or in the lead before the checkered flag flew. And it's been absolutely incredible to watch the Jet in that 71 machine just ultimately conquer the series here. And again, I want to shout out the drivers who have also put on an impressive performance here throughout this series. I gotta say, it's been phenomenal. all of these drivers here have put on a top-notch effort and continue to do so, and I look forward to see what these guys do going forward into future season. As we roll into turn 3, we're gonna come out of turn 4, and that pace truck is gonna come down into pit road. We're gonna go green flag once again here at New Hampshire. Lap 15 of 75. The green flag flies once again. Andrew Payne still out in the lead. Brett Hahn in second place. David Payton, Nick Fleury going to be duking it out for that third place spot into turn 1. Oh, wow. Nick Fleury was able to take the better line around the 38 of David Payton, taking that third place spot. Nice and smooth. Everyone going single file here as they shuffle into turn 3. Andrew Payne starting to get a little bit of pressure behind him from the 71 of Brett Hahn. But it looks like Brett staying a little calm here. Not quite being as aggressive as we might expect from that 71 machine. But as we all know, Brett is an extremely patient driver. He knows when to play his marks, and he does it extremely well. But there are more drivers here that are also going to be looking to take the podium for today's race. And David Payton in the 38 machine here, currently holding on to 4th place. He was duking it out for that 3rd place spot with Nick Fleury off the start after the green flag flew from the caution. And right now he's settled back into 4th place. He's currently got Zack Kaiser in the 14, starting to give him a little bit of pressure as they come down the back straight. Is that pressure going to be reapplied here as we come back into turn 3? I don't exactly think so. I think Zack Kaiser is ultimately playing it safe here, trying to just patiently wait for the time to come to make that pass here. So a lot of drivers here, again, with how we've talked about this a lot already, folks. We've gone over this multiple times already, and it's not even halfway through the race, but this track is big. There is a lot of room to play with, and when there is that much room to play with, well, you kind of get 2 different scenarios happening. And with cars like this, it ultimately gets reduced down to 1. You either have multi-groove racing, or you have just one long line of drivers. And that's ultimately what I expected to see here, but that doesn't exactly make it a one-and-done race, so to speak. If you're put in a race like this, you have to be patient. That is going to be absolutely vital to this race, to your performance and where you finish. It doesn't matter exactly where you are, where you start at the beginning of the race. It matters where you finish. And with how these drivers are currently working their way around the track. And one thing I also want to touch on here real quickly, look at how steady all of these drivers are. We haven't seen a whole lot of guys getting real loose, real unsteady yet. Again, this is only lap 21 of 75. So we don't expect to see that tire wear start to come into play here just yet. But, again, just like we were talking about before, as that starts to come in, that's going to affect the drivers around you, and that might help you work your way up this field. And that's the moments that you have to account for. That's what you really need to pay attention to and work towards, ultimately. Again, this is, from my perspective, spitballing for the most part. Could be entirely wrong here. I'm sure a driver or two would probably feel free to have an opinion or two to throw out there, but either way, I think that right now what we are seeing is patience. Lap 23 of 75, we are just about to the halfway point here to the race. It's still about 15 laps left to go here before we're at that point, but either way, things here are going to be very, very steady for these drivers, and we kind of just have to look out for those movers and shakers as they come about. And speaking of one of those drivers, Ron Hart The 051 machine. Wow, look at that. He went down low and almost scraped with the 16 of Noah Boucher. That almost was going to be, it almost looked like it was going to be a pretty intense moment there between the two drivers, but quickly shaped out to single file racing here once again. But looking up here, wow, look at that. Steve Seagars, Robert Besaw, they touch wheels for just a moment right as we tune into them. That's going to send Steve Seagars in that one machine back all the way to 9th place. Not in exactly the best of spots on the track here. Wow, Charles Darling going to be almost wheel to wheel. Oh, look at this, folks. Coming out of turn 4. Down the front straight, they're wheel to wheel here once again. Charles Darling, Steve Seagars battling for 8th place here into turn 1. They've already had a couple moments of contact here. Let's see if it continues. Wow. A couple of these camera angles here, they're quite deceiving. It almost looks like they're going to touch, but still a couple feet between them. But even still, that is definitely an uncomfortable spot to be in for a driver. As we're going to look here with Ron Hart in the 051 machine, holding on to 11th place right now as he follows behind Christopher Campbell in the 51 in the 10th place currently. Making our way out of turn 2 down the back straight. Ultimately just trailing with these drivers here, seeing what they're going to do. Ron Hart on the inside of the 51 of Christopher Campbell. Going to try and take that 10th place spot, but they're still wheel to wheel coming out of turn 4 down the front stretch. Let's see if that holds on here. Oop, that is not the correct button that I meant to press there. Sorry, folks. Lap 29 of 75 here at New Hampshire. Ultimately looking like single file racing for the most part, and drivers only taking additional lines when they see fit. Wow. And when they do, it is definitely very compact. Between these drivers, look at this. Ron Hart, Christopher Campbell, almost wheel to wheel. They almost touch it. Oh, man, I was half expecting a wreck there for just a moment. As we continue to look here for that 10th place battle between Ron Hart and Christopher Campbell. Oh, wow. Down the front straight, it's Christopher Campbell holding on to that 10th place spot. Is he going to be? Yes, he is. Into turn 1. Able to get himself out in front of the nose of the 051. Kind of strange, actually, now that I think about it. A battle between the 51 of Christopher Campbell and the 051 of Ron Hart. Little strange. Now that I'm aware of it. But anyway, anyhow, Ron Hart here riding on the bumper of Christopher Campbell, pushing him down the front stretch into turn 1. My, oh my, folks. But look at this. Checking back in with our... Wow! Whoa! What happened back here? What in the world? All right, folks, let's take a replay. David Payton seems to be the first. He gets a tap from the rear. Looks like, oh wow, oh no, oh no, oh it just gets worse. The longer you look, the worse it gets, folks. Just look away. Just close your eyes. Look away. Oh my. Okay, so just to give you an idea of who looked like who was all involved in that, I see David Payton, Christopher Campbell, Noah Boucher, Mark Welsh, Robert Besaw, possibly Billy Thomas. There was a handful of drivers involved in that wreck, folks. Wow. That is... Oh, that hurts. That definitely hurts. For the drivers, for myself up here in the booth. Wow. And, you know, that's one of the points that I was kind of alluding to earlier. That is ultimately what drivers are going to be waiting for in this type of race. For the big caution to come out, for drivers to make mistakes. That's really going to be your best opportunities to get your way up the field. Unless you're Brett Hahn, or unless you're someone who's extremely confident in progressing through the field, it's not always going to work in your favor. But with that in mind, folks, we're going to take a very quick commercial break, and we will be right back here with the Mtn Dew Modified Tour presented by Tagare Property Management. Don't go anywhere. Stick around. We will be back with more iRacing here on Team Goon Squad.
Driver Carrington gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona, the big one is out.
Welcome back, folks, to the Mtn Dew Modified Tour, the series finale, presented by Tagare Property Management. If you're just now tuning in, this is our second caution of the race here. Lap 33 of 75. Nick Fleury, Zack Kaiser, going to be starting out in the front row, first and second, respectively. Robert Besaw Jr., Billy Thomas, third and fourth. On this restart here, as we come down the back straight and go into turn 3 and out of 4, we will see the pace truck make its way into pit road, and we will be back to green flag racing here once more. And just about 5 laps to go before we reach the halfway point here for today's race, and things are just heating up. And there we go. The pace truck has made its way into pit road. We see the green flag fly. Nick Fleury on the gas, nice and early, trying to get his way away, get himself away from this field here as quickly as possible into turn 1 out of 2 down the back straight. Zack Kaiser quickly chasing down that 25 machine into turn 3. We have almost a 3-way battle here for first place between Nick Fleury, Zack Kaiser, and Robert Besaw Jr., but it's only a matter of time as that develops here. And I gotta say, with Brett Hahn having led some laps here and now finding himself in 9th place now, currently followed by the 711 of Eric Hahn, the father of Brett Hahn, here tonight. So a little father-son action that we have here on your screen. Honestly, a really, really great view here of both the drivers here out on track, ripping some laps here on New Hampshire for the series finale of the Mtn Dew Modified Tour. And what a season it has been for both of these drivers, especially for that of the 71 of the Jet, Brett Hahn. But as we continue on with our race here, Nick Fleury in the 25, still our race leader. Zack Kaiser and Robert Besaw Jr. continue their attack into turn 1 out of 2 down the back straight. More single file racing develops here as drivers continue to click off laps as best as they can, as patiently as they can, but still taking the opportunity to make passes when they can, as Noah Boucher in the 16 machine is trying to do here with that of Billy Thomas in the 9 for that 4th place spot into turn 1. The 16 trying to squeeze his way around that 9 machine down the back straight here. Is he going to be able to do it? No, it does not look like he is going to be able to. Billy Thomas holding on to that 4th place spot by only that of a few inches as they continue their battle here down the front straight here once more. But look behind them, Andrew Payne, John Kane, both going to be duking it out here for that 6th place spot here as well. As Noah Boucher tucks in behind the 9 of Billy Thomas. Andrew Payne going to start his attack now on that of the 16 of Noah Boucher here. So again, folks, this is kind of what we expect to see here. Patient single file racing. No one really wanting to go too insane, too aggressive, too early on. And I say early on, but we're halfway through the race now at this point. I did not mean to do that. But anyway, as we look on here, with only our 2nd caution of the race here tonight, you would expect to see a lot of drivers start to be affected by their tire wear, only marginally. You'll see some drivers start to fade up the track just a little bit here and there, depending on how aggressive they have been on their tires throughout the race here. Lap 40 of 75 as we have just crossed the line, and out of turn 2, Nick Fleury still leading our race here down the back straight, going to come into turn 3. And really, if Nick Fleury is able to kind of hold on to this position, hold on to this fight that he's developed for himself, he's in a good spot. Whether or not he'll be able to stay out in front and take home the win, that's always kind of up in the air with these races. You never really are too certain what's going to happen, who's going to be out front, who's going to kind of weasel their way through the field. And, well, sneak their way into the win for the race. So you see there, oh wow, look at that. Robert Besaw just gets into Zack Kaiser just a little bit. Zack Kaiser dropping down even more. Billy Thomas now going to be side by side with that number 14 machine, but only just for a moment, it seems like. And they continue down the, oh no, down the back straight, Billy Thomas, Zack Kaiser, they both touch wheels. That gets Zack Kaiser very unsettled, sends him spinning around the back straight just in front of turn 3. Let's take a look at the replay here of what exactly happened between these two drivers. You see Zack Kaiser up top, the 9. Billy Thomas just gets on the inside of him. Noah Boucher also going to get collected, as well as John Senu. In the 86, also collected in that incident here today. Our 3rd caution of the race here, folks, and that is honest. That is a rough one, especially when you are fighting for positions like that. That's tough. Wheel-to-wheel racing, man, not always forgiving here, folks. When you are in cars like this, you don't exactly have the pleasures of say, cup cars, where you don't run the risk of your wheels colliding into one another or rolling over top of one another, or rolling over one another's car. Now, that's not to say it doesn't happen in NASCAR or stock car, whatever racing you're currently thinking of. It definitely probably does and can happen. But here, in a open wheel race such as the modifieds, it is a lot more frequent, to say the least. So, when you're side by side like that, multiple laps, multiple turns, whatever the case may be, it's tricky. You have to really be precise with your, I'll say, space management. I'm sure there's another term that could be used for that, but that is the one I will use for that. And I'm sure you can probably assume from what I mean by that. Now, when you're in iRacing, or in any simulator, there are essentially certain limitations to how close you can get to one another without things kind of conflicting with one another, so to speak, in a programmed standpoint. This is going into highly nerdy technical details that I won't delve into any further, but point being, things don't always go according to plan, even in a simulation. So, when you see drivers kind of looking like they get sideways, but you go to look at the replay, and there's about a foot of distance between them, that's kind of what I mean. Different ways to explain that, but that is the explanation you get for today. As we cross the line here, the lights are going to go out on the pace car. This is going to be our final time around the track with the pace truck in tow. And we will go green flag once more here at New Hampshire for the series finale of the Mtn Dew Modified Tour presented by Tagare Property Management. 75 laps for the feature here today. And of those 75 laps, we have completed 42 with a very calm, steady race that we have seen thus far. And ultimately what we're going to see here is a lot of the same until the very end. Once we get into those final 15-10 laps, if you're in that position to make it work, it is time to get going. And speaking of getting going, we are green flag once more. Nick Fleury taking the lead once again, but Andrew Payne, look at that, a dive down on the inside into turn one. It's going to put him into second place, battling now with Robert Besaw Jr. down the back straight. Going into turn three. These drivers are almost going to be wheel to wheel here as they work their way into turn three. Brett Hahn, you can see in that fourth place spot, slowly working his way down towards the rear of these drivers, just waiting for his time to come. As we have seen Brett Hahn, he was already leading this race at one point, and ultimately finding himself down into the 9th place spot last time we checked in with him. I'm not exactly sure how far down he went, but either way, he's back here, 4th place now, battling it out to try and get himself back into that 1st place spot here. Lap 44 of 75 laps are going to be ticked off very, very quickly here. 30 seconds is the time that we're seeing for most of our drivers here tonight. And I gotta say, with laps being done that quickly, you kind of as a driver, you kind of have to start questioning to yourself, what do I need to do to make this happen? What do I need to do to keep this going? And for some drivers, it might be nothing. It might just be continue doing what you're doing. You don't need to do anything different. Just keep racing. Some drivers, it might be, all right, we need to save tires a little bit more. We need to be more fuel efficient. Whatever the case may be, there's always something that you can do to be a little bit better. If you don't feel that way, well, you probably have reached that point where you're doing the best that you can given the conditions, and that's perfectly fine. As we go too wide into 3 out of 4 down the front straight here. Look at this, 2 wide, 2 deep for the lead. Nick Fleury, Robert Besaw Jr. both going to be side by side, but Andrew Payne slowly pushing that 25 of Nick Fleury up just a little bit. That's going to give Nick Fleury just a little bit of distance in front of that number 3 machine. Doesn't exactly get himself out in front of him. just ultimately keeping himself out in front of this group of drivers that he has behind him. Lap 47 of 75. 3 laps to go before we see that 25 to go flash across your screen. And I gotta say, folks, this is what we have been waiting for. This has been building up to this moment here today. And we're actually going to ride on board with Brett Hahn in that 71 machine. Give you a couple laps here. Give you an idea of what it's like here at New Hampshire in the modifieds. As Brett Hahn takes that 3rd place spot down the front straight. Let's listen in to the 71 machine. As always, fantastic racing from Brett the Jet Hahn in that 71 machine as he continues his battle for tracking his way into 1st place. As drivers continue their way into turn 1, Robert Besaw Jr. holding on to that 4th place spot. Let's check in with some of our other drivers here around the track and see where they at and how they stand currently in the race. And given that last caution, we seen a lot of drivers involved in that one. That was an absolutely massive wreck that we saw here for tonight's race. Noah Boucher, though, that we're looking at currently, he was also involved in that wreck, if you saw. But he's still out here on track, holding on to 7th place and doing an incredible job here. We have reached the 24 laps left to go point. So right now it's well, we kind of have to consider a few different things here. Looking at your track map down on the bottom right hand side of your screen, you can see where all of our drivers currently are out on track. And well, if you can see, there's definitely not as many as we started with. We started with a field of 20 drivers here tonight, and currently out on track, it looks like we have 11. So 11 drivers are currently still out on track out of the 20 that have started today. So, and we haven't had that many cautions, folks. There was only 3 for this race, but it has taken out almost half of our field. I hate to laugh at that. I guess I'm not necessarily laughing at it as more as I'm chuckling at how, well, sad it is for a lot of drivers here that were probably expecting to end the season on a high note to be taken out in a wreck like that. I can't imagine they're too thrilled about being in the pits right now. I'm sure they definitely would rather be out on track, but that's racing, folks. That's going to be bound to happen. And again, with the amount of room that we have out on track here, you can almost kind of get comfortable with having that much room. You might not be worried as much about as a driver on your inside or your outside or whatever the case may be. And so we might see a little bit of that where drivers being a little bit more lenient as far as where they kind of position themselves on the track. They might let themselves drift a little bit more out of the turn, coming out of turn 2, 4, whatever the case is. And that might not even be the only reason. That's just a speculation ultimately here in the booth. But as we continue on, once again here, 19 laps left to go. Nick Fleury still holding out in the lead In that 25 machine, he has Andrew Payne in that 93. In second place still currently. Andrew Payne also starting the race in first place here tonight after qualifying extremely well here. He's on the bumper almost of that 25 of Nick Fleury, almost about a half a foot between that of the front bumper of Andrew Payne and the rear of Nick Fleury. So again, like I predicted towards the beginning of the broadcast, this is the moment that we're waiting for here, folks. The laps are winding down, time is ticking, things are slowly winding down here, and drivers are gonna start putting themselves in a position to start applying more pressure, start getting themselves ready to make those opportune moves when necessary. And drivers have ultimately, I don't want to say all the time in the world, but they have enough time right now to make those moves happen. 17 laps left to go. There's plenty of time. Again, if you were here a little bit earlier, 30 seconds is about the lap times that we're seeing out of our drivers. You can see it panning across the top of your screen. Below the drivers' names is their last lap time around the track. So we're still seeing lap times under 31 seconds for most of our, actually the majority of our drivers. I think there is, nope, all of our drivers are clicking laps of under 31 seconds at this point in time here. So 15 laps left to go here. That's not a whole lot of time left. 7.5 minutes roughly of total racing time. And when you put that into consideration, you start to think and wonder, you're behind the wheel. 7.5 minutes doesn't seem like a lot. I want to kind of just put this into perspective. This is kind of taking a little bit of a detour from the race here. If you've ever been to a go-kart rental place, and they tell you get 10 minutes, 15 minutes on track, it goes by pretty quick. So you can imagine how these drivers feel when there's only 10, 15 laps left to go in a race, and you have someone in your ear, you have your race control, you have your crew chief telling you, or I said race control, that's probably incorrect, but you have your crew chief, you have someone on your team telling you, hey, time's ticking, man. You got to get going. You gotta start making moves. If you're not finishing where you want to be, you got to do something. You have to make any changes to your racecraft, to your car that you possibly reasonably can. Again, this is a fixed setup series, so not a whole lot of changes can be made to these cars other than your steering ratio and your brake bias. So really what you get is what you got for a lot of these drivers here, but you see a lot of them make the best of it, and that's what we come here for. Even with the similar setups, drivers find a way to make even the most marginal improvements among the field, and that's what you have to do in these sort of series. And Nick Fleury right now seems to be setting a fine example of doing just that, as he's leading this race and has continued to do so since the last, I want to say, two restarts? No, last restart, if I'm not mistaken. So Nick Fleury, another driver here in this series who has done a phenomenal job of working their way through the field, keeping themselves in the top 10, top 5, top 3 even. These are the kind of things that you have to do in this series, and it's not always easy. There's a lot of different challenges that drivers have to overcome. And your opponents, your other drivers are just a part of it. A small, very, very small part of the race here. Extremely incredible driving that we've seen from everyone here tonight. And, you know, the one thing that I want to mention here, too, is the amount of the grip that seems to be available for these drivers here. I haven't seen too many drivers really get loose or spin out on their own, hardly at all throughout this race. It's been extremely consistent thus far, and even with 7 laps left to go, these drivers are all trailing one another, almost bumper to bumper. It's absolutely fantastic to see. We're going to ride on board here. Ooh, wow, look at that. A little bit of a bump to the rear end of Robert Besaw as they come out of turn 4 down the front stretch. 6 laps left to go. Nick Fleury, Andrew Payne, Robert Besaw Jr., and Brett Hahn. All 4 of these drivers have been just trailing one another all the way until the very end here. And I think right now is the time that Nick Fleury is going to start to get a little bit nervous. As you see Andrew Payne, Robert Besaw go side by side down the front straight. Going into turn 1, Nick Fleury starting to feel a little bit of the pressure. Robert Besaw nowhere to go as he's blocked by that 25. Andrew Payne, he's got an open lane. Is it going to work for him, though? Coming down the back straight, charging towards turn 3, settling out here. A little bit of lap traffic involved here. Nick Fleury diving down. Robert Besaw on the outside. He washes out. Up into turn 4, Andrew Payne still trailing behind the 25 of Nick Fleury as they come down the front straight going into turn 1. Brett Hahn sees the opportunity going into turn 1. He's going to drop down low on the inside of Andrew Payne. He's going to track down behind Nick Fleury going down the back straight here. 4 laps left to go here at New Hampshire for the series finale of the Mountain Dew Modified Tour presented by Tagare Property Management. Brett Hahn seems to be losing just a little bit of speed here. Going into turn 3 out of 4. He catches right back up to the 93 of Andrew Payne. He snaps the wheel. Andrew Payne goes spinning down the back straight. Excuse me, the front straight. Oh, wow. That's going to send a caution out with 3 to go. That is the wrong replay here. Okay, so this was a very, very quick moment here. We're going to try and observe this as best we can. But coming out of turn 4 here, look at this. Oh, man. Just gets into the side of Andrew Payne. That's going to send Brett. Excuse me. That's going to send Andrew Payne spinning down the front straight there. And if you'll notice, the topic that I was mentioning earlier about how the simulation doesn't always account to real life. There's always some gaps to be made there, and that was one of them. If you saw the 93 kind of spinning into the car of Brett Hahn, that is one of those things. Not always perfect, but enough to get the job done. To say the least here. But 4 laps left to go here, folks. I gotta say, that was a wild battle for the lead. And, oh man, I'm gonna be curious here, guys. I'm really, really curious how this final 4 laps is gonna go. The lights are off on the pace car, so this will be the final time around with the pace truck. I keep saying pace car. I guess I'm just used to it at this point. But Nick Fleury, Robert Besaw, Billy Thomas going to be starting first, second, and third, respectively. Brett Hahn falling all the way back down to 9th place. Not exactly the best spot to be in with 3 laps left to go. As we come out of turn 4, pace truck's going to come down into pit road. And the green flag will fly for the final time here at New Hampshire for the series finale of the Mtn Dew Modified Tour presented by Tagare Property Management. Nick Fleury in the lead. Robert Besaw holding on to that second place spot. Billy Thomas in third. John Kane, Noah Boucher falling single file behind them for 4th and 5th. Working their way into turn 3 and out of 4. Robert Besaw applying a little bit of pressure to that 25 of Nick Fleury across the line, going into turn 1. Still pretty settled, pretty calm here between these two drivers, just waiting for the time to come. Robert Besaw still trailing behind Nick Fleury. We're going to see if he can make a move here before the checkered flag flies. Once we come across the line here, the white flag will fly. Look at that. Robert Besaw with the charge out of turn 4, down the front stretch. The white flag flies. It is the final lap of the Mtn Dew Modified Tour here at New Hampshire for the series finale. Nick Fleury in the lead. Robert Besaw Jr. in second with Billy Thomas in third. Down the back straight. It's 1, 2, 3. Nick Fleury still holding on to our lead here as he charges his way into turn 3. Robert Besaw trying to, almost looked like he was going to have a run there for a moment, but not able to get enough speed here. As we come across the line here, Nick Fleury taking the win. Robert Besaw Jr. taking second place. Billy Thomas in third for the end of the series and the race here today at New Hampshire. Folks, I got to say, what a race it has been. It has been absolutely incredible. Before we get into post-race interviews, though, we are going to take another short commercial break, and we will be right back. Stay tuned.
Driver Carrington gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here. Daytona. The big one is out.
All right, welcome back, folks. As we get our race results up here for you today, Nick Fleury in the 25 taking home the win. Robert Besaw Jr. in the 3 taking home second place with Billy Thomas in third in the 9 machine. Folks, what a race it has been, and we are going to go ahead and get started with our post-race interview, starting with Billy Thomas taking home third in the 9 machine. Billy, sir, can you read me?
Yes, I can.
Billy, man, I gotta say this was quite an interesting race. You know, it was mostly, from what I saw, single groove racing. You know, a lot of guys just going single file, and kind of seemed like it was just a lot of patient racing. Well, do you kind of agree with that? What are your thoughts on tonight's race?
Yeah, I had to be kind of patient, make sure I didn't get out of line and get passed by doing that. Um, and yeah, I got a little aggressive and halfway through and accidentally hit somebody and caused caution. But recovered nicely and super happy for finishing in the top 3 for the first time.
Absolutely. Well, Billy, for the series finale, after a long season, what are your thoughts on the series, and how do you feel after the series has concluded?
Well, this is my first season in this series, and I had a lot of fun throughout the whole thing, and hope to do it a lot more in the future.
Absolutely. Billy, I want to thank you for coming up here and chatting with me in the booth before you go, and congratulate you on taking home third here for the series finale. But before I let you go and celebrate, is there anyone at home, anyone watching that you want to give a shout out to or thank before you go?
Nobody's watching that I know of, but if anybody does see this, thanks for supporting me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Billy, for coming up here and chatting with me in the booth. Thank you for coming up here. Excuse me, once again, and hopefully get to see you again in the next season.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Billy. Thank you again. Billy Thomas out of the booth in the 9 machine, taking home third place for tonight. What a race from the 9 machine here. But up next, it's going to be Robert Besaw Jr. up next here, if we can. There he is. All right, Robert, up next in the booth here. Robert, sir, can you read me?
I gotcha.
Rob, what a race that it was here tonight, and especially for the 3, we saw quite a few moments. You were charging fairly well throughout the race here, kind of a couple hiccups here and there for the field, but man, I gotta say, you kind of find yourself in the best spot throughout the field as far as placement for the end of the race here. How are you feeling taking home second?
I'm feeling really good about that. It's I'm enjoying these cars. I haven't really raced them, but I thought it was a lot of fun here, and just basically throughout the race, just trying to save what tires I have, just do enough to stay ahead of the guy behind you until we got later on. I was a little worried when Brett and Andrew took tires. They got back up front, but I started noticing they weren't driving away from myself and Nick, and started seeing the different lines. They were getting a little loose, so I had some good runs on the outside, and I was really feeling pretty good about my chances there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I want to mention here too, and kind of ask you here, Rob, with the amount of space that we have here on track here, and given that we saw a lot of guys kind of opting to just take a single groove race pattern here, where were kind of the more opportune spots for overtaking, and did you see any of those come into play here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, 1 and 2, if you tried to stay really low, I even saw guys like Brett and Andrew getting loose off that corner. So basically through the middle and exit of 2, I mean, low line was a no-go. If you were down there, you're getting too loose to get any traction. You end up messing yourself up for the next corner. Best success I really picked up on was a high, hard entry into 3. The car would stick well enough. All you had to do was get your front tires on the outside of the guy's right rear. And, I mean, you got the position at that point. He's got to give you the exit of the corner. So that, I think, was going to be the move to probably win the race. We just never got there.
Well, even despite not getting quite to where you wanted to be, you still managed to take home second place, Rob. Before I let you go here, though, and celebrate your second place finish here tonight for the series finale, is there anyone watching, anyone at home, anyone in the pit crew that you want to shout out or thank before you go?
Yeah, absolutely. Got my father-in-law watching, friends and family. I'd like to thank ASRC for letting me race. I've only been here a few races, but it's been really enjoyable. And obviously you guys, Team Goon Squad, for the broadcast.
Absolutely, Rob. Well, thank you again for coming up here and chat with me in the booth. I look forward to hopefully seeing you in future seasons, and good luck to you in future endeavors.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, Rob. Have a good night. All right, Rob Besaw Jr. in the 3 machine, taking home second place. Last but certainly not least for tonight's race, Nick Fleury taking home the win for tonight. Let's see if we can find Mr. Fleury here. There he is. All right. Nick, sir, do you have a read?
I do.
Nick, what a race it was tonight. The 25 machine definitely seemed to have quite some moves on it tonight. I got to ask you, though, you kind of found yourself up in the front kind of halfway through the race after Brett Hahn came down in pit road to get fresh tires. What was it like kind of defending that spot after that point in time?
Yeah, that was a little bit of an accident, but not too much of an accident. Everyone came in just a little bit earlier than I expected, but it ended up working out very well. And this track is really about track position, and if you've got that lead, it's very hard to make the pass.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely seemed like passing was not going to be easy here. But even with that in mind, where were you what parts of the track were you kind of worried about as far as getting past, or maybe just defending that first place spot?
I really wasn't too worried anywhere on the track. The only thing I was worried about was if someone got next to me and there was that funky iRacing kind of netcode incident that would launch a car or something like that. And to lose a race that way is always disappointing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely hurts to see drivers get put out like that. But Nick, after a long season here, and coming home with the win for the series finale, although you didn't take home the championship, that was definitely a hard-fought battle, I think, for any of our drivers here. How are you feeling about the season, and are you excited for the next one?
I'm very excited for the next one. I'm always excited for more short track racing. I'm excited to pick up a win here tonight. It keeps my streak alive of having at least one race win in every season. For some reason, I was giving myself a little pressure for that.
Well, you managed to do it, Nick. You took home the win here tonight, New Hampshire, and I got to say it was a well-earned victory. Nick, before I let you go here and celebrate tonight, is there anyone at home, anyone watching the broadcast that you want to shout out or thank before you head out?
Yeah, always. My Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He really blesses me. It gives me a lot of great toys to be able to come out here and do this. My wife, who lets me play with those toys. And I definitely need to thank those sponsors, CPM Incorporated, Django Home Improvements, Mike's Garage, who really prepares fast race cars for me. And I got to thank Mountain Dew for supporting us this season.
Absolutely, Nick. Well, thank you again for joining us here in the booth tonight, and congratulations on your win. Nick, I look forward to seeing you next season, and hopefully we have some more future conversations similar to this one.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, Nick. Have a great night. All right, folks. Nick Fleury, our race winner, out of the booth here tonight, but that is not the end of our broadcast here tonight. We are going to have one more short little end of show shenanigans here. We're going to have a quick word with our season winner, Brett Hahn, as well as the father of Brett Hahn, Eric Hahn. Brett Hahn, welcome, sir. Eric, welcome as well. Brett, congratulations on your season win. And Brett, has been phenomenal watching you here throughout the series. And I brought Eric in here to have some words here about the 71 of Brett the Jet Hahn. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mason. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Always pretty much Brett's whole life racing with him. You know, when he was first born, he was born on February 13th. The next day was the Daytona 500. So I had him in my lap there watching it, and I said, you know what? This kid's going to grow up to be a natural racer. So that was pretty fun. And then when he turned about 3.5, I said, all right, now it's time to maybe start playing around with karts and stuff. And we actually started quarter midget racing. And with quarter midget racing, you can't start officially racing till you're 4.5, but I didn't know. And Brett was born in February, so we show up there like April, and nobody checked us out. We go out there, and Brett was awesome. He went full throttle, like a kid, you know, just doing the circle. I said, oh, no, he's getting closer to the wall. He hit that wall full throttle, his visor fell off, but he never broke a tear or anything. It's, oh man, another indication that this kid's going to be the man. So that was always fun. And then I think he's mentioned it before, but as we went up in senior Honda and won many races and stuff, had a lot of fun. We created our own car. I always like trying to invent things and outsmart the other racer. Brett will tell you I'm cheap. I won't try and outspend him, but try and outsmart him. And he's like, Dad, I don't want to be in this car. I want to be in the faster ones with the bigger kids. I said, no, stay in it. And he credits it to this day, his ability to set up passes and be patient, because that car, as we said, really had no power. So you had to make sure you really set up your passes, sometimes 2 or 3 laps in advance. So we thought that was fun. And then finally he got old enough where I said, okay, we're going to go real modified racing. And we bought this old car, and I said, you know what, Brett, I got to test it out, make sure it's okay. And I took a few laps, and I said, we better get 2 cars. And that started us able to race side by side, because of course quarter midgets, I was too old to run in that. But we had so much fun in those modifieds, running all over. We even went down to Winchester one year and scared ourselves there and stuff. And never a ton of money to really, win a race or get in the top 5 too often. But we had a lot of fun. And even there, one time Brett told me, and you could probably see it in my racing even today, Dad, you're driving it in too hard. Dad, you're driving it in too hard. All right, Brett, all right. So I come, and they waved the green, and I tried to lift early, and he drilled me right in the back and spun me out. I'm like, Brett, come on, what's the deal here? You said lift early. So he said, yeah, but not that early. But had a lot of fun, and luckily, he was a smart kid and made it through Michigan State. I always told him too, no matter what you do in racing, nobody can take away your brain. So stay in school, get that degree, because when you get to be an old man like me, and you maybe aren't as sharp on the racing skills, you can always fall back on your degree and having a good job and stuff. So that's been good. So, I'm proud of him, because I think he brings that same attitude even to iRacing about respecting others, never act too cocky or anything like that. And most importantly, have fun. So he's turning out to be a good man. I'm very proud of him, and I'm glad you're able to bring me in and give everybody a little bit laughs about the history of Brett.
Eric, thank you for coming up here and joining us in the booth. That was some very, very awesome words. Brett, what are your thoughts on the series, on the season, and ultimately on your racing craft so far?
Yeah, Mason, as my dad says, pretty humble, so I don't even know how to follow up with that. Those compliments mean a lot, especially coming from my dad, With him being in the racing my whole life, he's the ultimate crew chief, I like to say. He can go wrench on a car, and we can make it fast with the least amount spent. We always love to say we were the fastest for how much we spent, whether we showed up at whatever track we did. And we usually did pretty well. We were right on the tail end of most people, but hopefully here we'll come to some sponsorship, get a nice car, and really give a run at the real life and stuff. But Mason, overall, this league is awesome. I tell you what, Tanner and all the guys here, we've built this thing up just in a year now, and man, it's got some awesome guys. We've seen some good guys come and go overall, but man, the people that stay, they're awesome. I really enjoy racing every single person out here. They make it a ton of fun for me, and these champions really, really special to myself. I have posters all over my room now from iRacing stuff, and people are like, "Isn't that just virtual racing?" I'm like, "Heck yeah!" And it's the best thing out there besides, of course, the real life stuff. But hey, it might be a better option here with how expensive stuff's getting, especially gas. So
yeah,
we might have to keep that on up. But yeah, Mason, this league is awesome. So proud to bring home 3rd championship in a row for the short track series. So really proud of just being consistent. Mason sadly didn't get the top 3 that I wanted tonight. Was trying there. Me and Andrew just got together a little bit. Got to apologize to the 93 machine, but it has been an awesome season. Look forward to next one, and got to go hit the track, get some practice in, because need to bring my A game again. Everyone says they're gunning for me again, so no holds back still. We got to go full send it and keep the afterburners on for the Jet.
Awesome.
You heard it here first, folks. The Jets are still on for the 71 machine of Brett the Jet Hahn. Guys, thank you for coming up here and joining me in the booth here tonight and closing out the season. It's been absolutely fantastic, and if you guys don't mind, you're going to join me here and show everyone off here. Thank you all for joining us here in the booth tonight and watching the show. If you all enjoyed the show, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned so you guys can all catch next season of the American Sim Racing Club. I believe we're going to be showing the Super Late Model Series next time around, so stick around for that. Again, Brett Hahn, Eric Hahn, thank you both for joining me in the booth. My name is Mason Heimbaugh, bringing you the action tonight. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next season.
Driver Carrington gets dumped by Benami. The leaders are winding up here.